to learn this value. Push yourself to get involved and connected with at least one network of people. A network being 4 or 5 people. And you will see your productivity jump up like this. Okay? Miriam works with me, productivity goes up. Miriam works with one of our other PhD students, productivity goes up. Is she cheating? The answer is no. She understands the system and she's connecting with things that can move her performance up incrementally. You sitting in your office doing it by yourself and you get to publish this paper, it's got your name on it, and you go, look at this, and everybody's going, yeah, but you got 1, she did 10. Why didn't you do 10? And this is the reason you won't do 10 if you don't do this. And don't link up with Dumb and Dumber. This has been one of the most important things to my career. I spend an inordinate amount of time, as does my other graduate student, or ex-graduate student, who I don't talk to right at the moment because he's a pain in the ass. We read outside of our discipline. I have 4 theories I'm working with right now. Chaos theory, string theory, I have 2 others I can't remember off the top of my head that I'm working with, and I'm trying to see how can I move physics into the business realm. Okay? I haven't seen it any other place in the fields that I look at. And there's a classic example of this. If you look at the most quoted person in marketing, there's a guy named Paul Green at Wharton, the University of Pennsylvania Wharton. Paul Green. Paul Green has never written one marketing article. Never. He's the best quoted person in marketing. He's never written a marketing article. What has he done? He's transmigrated stuff from statistics into marketing. He brings the tools to analyze the new up-and-coming techniques and all the rest of it. And if you look at Paul's stuff, every time he's borrowed it from psychology or engineering or someplace else. And he's figured out how to adjust it and put it into the context. What we keep doing, or what we train you to do, is to do what? Go back to the existing literature, read it, and see what other people said, and all of a sudden your theories are the same, your techniques are the same, everything's the same. Bring something to the table that's new. And again, Miriam sees me do this almost every week. Every Saturday morning I have a religion. What do? I go to my office, unusual. I spend the first 4 hours doing what? Every time? Playing on the computer. Not pornography, not music, not sports. I go and I start looking for terms and I follow their strings and where do they attach. And I go to Google and I'll Google a theory and then I'll Google a technique and all of a sudden over time what I do is I have a pile of knowledge on something I knew absolutely nothing about. Okay? You've got to force yourself to read what scientists are saying because they're more sophisticated for the most part because they've got hard sciences rather than behavioral sciences. They can come up with answers, we can come up with opinions. Look at what they're doing. Can you use that stuff? I'm real interested in the Hubble telescope and what it's going to bring about. And I'll spend time studying it to figure out what's going on. The other thing I do that's learning outside, and Miriam can attest to this, I take one topic every year that I know absolutely nothing about. Nothing. And I will spend the entire year studying that one topic and write a paper on it. I wrote a paper on organ transplant. How does that work? Why does it work? Why do people not sign up to give their organs? And oh, by the way, if you're in the United States, you've got 70% of the people that sign up for organs die before the organs become available. I can tell you if your child needs a kidney and you are a resident of the United States, I can tell you the state to go to that she can get one or he can get one in 1 week. Now, would you rather sit there and watch your kid die? I thought it was really interesting research. Child labor, all over the world, oh, this is a big deal. Looked at it for a year. Change in the climate. I looked at it for a year, and I always tie in some business connection to it. Why is global warming really happening? Now, there's a lot of carbon and there's a lot of cars, but one of the biggest reasons is what? We're cutting down all the trees that absorb heat and give off oxygen. We've cut down 1/4 of the Amazon jungle. Just cut it to the ground. It supplies 25% of all the oxygen in the world. Why did we do that? I had no idea why we did it. So we can graze cattle from the United States, graze cattle, butcher the cattle, and bring the beef back to the United States for fast food. So we're literally going to choke to death on our own fast food. Why do they keep cutting it down? Because the land's so poor that after 4 years, all the minerals give out and they've got to cut more down. They don't even log the logging. They just let it lay there and rot. That's pretty interesting. That was brought about by reading from the outside and saying, I don't know how this thing works. This doesn't make any sense. The sale of banded pesticides around the world. We ban something in the United States and we sell it to India. We ban something in the United States and we sell it to South America. First of all, is that ethical? And second of all, what's the major negative to it? We banned DDT in the United States in 1967. In the United States, our intake of DDT is 4 times as much as it was in 1967. Why? None of it's been sold there in the United States. We sell it to Central and South America, and what do? We buy their fruits and vegetables and bring them back into the United States. Is that a good thing to do? Well, this is what I mean by read outside your discipline. It keeps you interested, and you can come up with some kind of unique things. What I look for is stuff that I can bring back into the business literature that's not there already. Okay, I'm going to try to finish up. Learn to work with unique process. Each one of you should come up with a process. We talked about this last time. My process is very unique to me. I'm not saying use it. I'm just saying, if you say, how do you do research? I can sit down and say, here's the process I use. It works for me. Miriam's will be different, and Tasha's will be different. Okay, I'll go through these even faster. Be disciplined. One of my favorite people in the world is a woman named Nancy Napier. She's a researcher and started a university in Vietnam. And her whole thing is, if you're going to be creative, if you're going to be a writer, you have to be inordinately disciplined. You have to sit down daily and do the same thing. You have to sit down weekly and do the same thing. You have to sit down monthly. Let me give you an example. A very good friend of mine, a guy named Steve Robbins. You may have run into his books. He's got 30 books that he's written. Steve gets up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and writes until 9 o'clock in the morning. And then goes off and does whatever he wants. The next morning, I don't care if it's Christmas morning, he sits down at 5 o'clock and works until 9 o'clock every day. And why does he do that? Well, first of all, there's no interruptions, nobody's on the phone, nobody's trying to get a hold of him, the kids aren't up. It's Steve in these books. That's discipline. You've got to have that same kind of discipline. I work hard. I go into my office 365 days out of the year. Christmas Day for us, I'm there. Am I bragging? No, I'm just saying. That's discipline. That's being willing to do it. Steve does the same thing. Interestingly, we were office mates in our PhD program. Okay, another thing you need to do is to learn working at the intersections. What do I mean? Work where 2 fields overlap each other. I used to teach in the engineering school, and there's all kinds of interesting things that go into engineering that could go into business. Psychology or behavioral stuff goes into business. So try to work where things come together. We have a faculty member, in fact, Miriam had a class with him last semester. And Tony's fields are MIS and small group management. So what he does, he teaches GSS and how to get teams more productive and how to get more ideas generated in teams. He's at an intersection. He's got a technology that he's putting with a management problem. And he's really quite good. Spend your time. If you're going to write 2 articles a year, find out how much time you have to spend to do that. If you're going to write 10 articles a year, find out how much time. What you don't realize is time is based upon chunks of time. In my world, Miriam's world, lesser degree Natasha's world, I have chunks of time that are called Christmas. We get 30 days off for Christmas. I don't have anything else to do, I write. We get a thing called spring break off, which is 1 week in the summer. I have everything lined up to write during that time period. I get out of school in May and I don't go back until August. I've got this big chunk of time. And what I've learned to do is, those are great times to get things done while everybody else is relaxing, traveling, vacationing, whatever in the world it may be. Now, do you have to do it as strenuous as I do? The answer is no. Not if you're going to write 2 articles a year. But don't pass up those chunks of time. Everything on my desk is lined up in piles so that when I'm ready to go, it's just like a machine trying to get it done. You may only have 1 pile, that's fine. But know that it takes time to get this stuff done. Particularly if you're staring at the ceiling. Be curious. I think this is the key thing. Why does this happen? Why didn't they write on this? Why didn't they see this as an antecedent? I think that curiosity is the key antecedent to learning. There have been some people that Sternberg's talked about, a few other people. Nobody's really zeroed in on this as being a critical element of learning. At least we have it in the educational process. We try to drum out curiosity. Don't be different, fit in, you know, this is the way we do things. And the last thing is to keep learning during your research program. Many of you are going to be methodologists. Do you realize that your methodological tools are going to be worn out in 5 years? What you know today will not be publishable in 5 years from a methodology standpoint. You've got to come up with new ones. You've got to read Paul Green stuff. You've got to read in physics. You've got to read other places to move stuff in.